Hey up guys, I'm Mason. I'm a completely blind wrestling fan and this is my podcast, Wrestling in the Dark, and today we're here to talk a little bit of NXT. The first NXT Live on USA episode aired this last Wednesday. I've just got done watching it and now I'm here to share my thoughts in podcast form, so if you're interested in hearing what NXT is like from a blind person's point of view, this is the podcast for you. I'm going to jump right in and share some of my initial thoughts before we get to the meat of the matches and the spots and talk about the commentary. But the show as a whole, I didn't think that it was quite as impactful as I thought that it was going to be. It's technically the first shot fired in the Wednesday Night Wars, which is almost officially upon us. It's just 2 weeks away. And honestly, I just didn't think that this was as white hot as I thought that it was going to be. I really thought that this was going to be like takeover level, and whilst I did think that there was a few takeover worthy moments, I didn't think that it was as stacked as I thought it was going to be. It felt a little bit rushed. It felt a little bit like they were trying to just get everybody on the show and trying to get everything in. And like that first hour, it felt like a little bit more like they had time to breathe, but that second hour was just insanity. It had so much stuff in it and hardly any of it felt like it had any weight or importance. I really enjoyed the Roddy Dream match. I really enjoyed the Lorcan, the only Lorcan versus Leah Rush match. Pete Dunne versus Arturo Ruiz, I think his name is. Apologies if I've just butchered his name. That one was pretty good too. It was nice to see Pete Dunne getting a little bit of time to shine on NXT Prime. But, yeah, I don't know. It didn't come across quite as mega as I thought it was going to. You know, I was expecting to come out and be like, wow, that was amazing, that was like the best NXT episode that I've ever watched, and it was only like, I'd say overall I'd give the show a 4 out of 6, but there was some good moments. Don't think that I'm shitting all over it, because I really not. It was enjoyable to watch, just not as enjoyable as I thought it was going to be. But with no further ado, we'll jump into the matches. So we kicked off the show with a women's match. It was the Fatal 4-Way for the number one contendership to Shayna Baszler's NXT Women's Championship. Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair and Mia Yim. Now, this match, I've got mixed feelings on it, because I know that it was good, and I've got quite a few spots written down, but that's all they really felt to me while I was watching it. I don't know why, but I just didn't emotionally connect to the match. It's really cool that they got to kick off the show with the women's match. That's awesome that those 4 women get to say that they were the first match live on the USA Network. But I'm not sure why it didn't connect with me. But so let's get to my actual notes. So to start with, we've got Candice LeRae goes straight for Io Shirai, which I do like as a little character piece, to be fair. Candice is just absolutely obsessed with getting Io, and that's pretty cool, because I guess it's just sort of like having Gargano and Ciampa again, but the female version this time, and it just makes it look like Candice really wants to get her hands on Io, and I do like that. But she doesn't get to Io Shirai though, because Bianca Belair wipes her out. Belair does a handspring moonsault, and to be fair, as someone that has said before that I'm not a fan of Bianca Belair, I do feel like she was probably the standout performance for me here, because maybe just because she got some of the biggest spots and commentary were pointing that out. But I do think that in the ring she seems to be really impressive. I'm not a fan of her mic skills and promo work, but I do enjoy what she does in the ring, and she had quite a good showing in this match in my opinion. But yeah, the fact that she's pulling off handspring moonsaults is pretty cool. Io Shirai hits the 619. Mia Yim and gets a tornado DDT. And like I said, I have got quite a bit of detail here. The commentary was doing a fairly good job, especially Morrow, because frankly, Morrow didn't give Nigel and Beth a whole lot of opportunity to contribute during this show, if I'm honest. Sometimes it felt like Nigel was just sort of really wanted to say something, but didn't have, I don't know, I don't want to say the confidence, because I don't think it's got anything to do with his confidence, but I don't know, it just sometimes it felt like he was struggling to get a word in edgewise, which was a shame because I do like him the most. But Morrow did a fairly good job. Like I said, I don't know why, but it felt like it was just a series of spots, maybe because it was happening so quickly, or maybe it was because it was the opening of the show and I was expecting to sort of get eased in. I don't know what it was, I just wasn't connecting, it just all sort of felt like it was just spots. We got sort of an inane Beth shouting, "Look at the fight from Candice LeRae," and I was like, well, what's she doing, Beth? Her voice during this really made me laugh. She had to, like, shout the entire time everything Beth said. She was just screaming it at the top of her lungs because they had her too low down or something like that. But yeah, look at that fight from Candice LeRae. I hate those sort of calls because it's just like, yeah, cool. Like, I know that she's firing back, I know that she's, going after her opponent, but past that, I've not got anything to visualise. Then we get Bianca Belair hitting a fall-away slam. They go into vagueness again just before the commercial break as Io Shirai hits some sort of big move that has everyone popping for it, but they never called it, and I was like, oh. And then it just led into the commercial break. Once we come back from commercial break, we get a Tower of Doom spot, which Beth is quick to point out Bianca got the worst of. I did appreciate that from Beth, so I gave her a point for that, because it's nice to know in that sort of situation who comes out the worst, and sometimes it would just be like, oh, Carnage, and they just wouldn't say who came out worst, so thanks for that one, Beth. A snap German from Candice to Io had the crowd popping again. The Mia Yim hit a code blue for the near fall, and Mia Yim really doesn't stand out to me. I wasn't a fan of her when she was going up against Shayna Baszler. Really didn't impress me on the mic, and then in this match I felt like she was sort of the non-factor, I guess. I might change as I look back through my notes, but it just sort of felt like she just like popped in every now and again. The others were doing better stuff, but she just popped in every now and again. I'm actually not sure what a code blue is. I know I should probably know, and I think that I do, but at the same time, if anyone wants to let me know what that is and answer the WITD challenge of describing moves to a blind person, that'd be fine. And then we get a little bit where Bianca wipes out Io and Candice with a double spear. As Io Shirai climbs to the top rope, Mia Yim knocks her off into Bianca Belair. Then we get the finish of the match, which is Candice LeRae pulling off a Poison Rana and then a middle rope moonsault for the win. Again, can someone please tell me what a Poison Rana is? Because I hadn't heard of that before, like, literally maybe a few months ago when I started hearing it in AEW. I can't say that I've ever really noticed it in NXT before, but can someone please tell me what that is, if anyone can be bothered? But yeah, I gave this match a 5-. I know that it was good in the ring, and I wish that I could have seen the actual ring work and how everyone was moving and selling, because these sort of matches always make me miss that. It's just one of those things that once it gets to maybe more than 3 people, I think that it gets a little bit difficult for me to keep up with. I don't invest as much. I maybe don't pay as much attention as I should. So I just, yeah, like I said, I didn't really feel like I was connected emotionally to this match, and that's why it only really got a 5-, which is just a low 5. So yeah, unfortunately, that match, I was really looking forward to it. I really was, and then it just sort of, I was like, oh, that happened, and for some reason it just felt like a load of spots that happened, and Morrow was going absolutely crazy. And I to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of Morrow when he's in the sort of mode that he felt like he was in tonight. By tonight, obviously, I mean the show. I just felt like he was back to his old SmackDown self. I think I've got it down in my notes a bit later on, so we'll get to it then. But there was just a few of those little Morrow jokes that he made that I'm like, don't start doing that again, please, because I've liked the more refined style. That I'm just not a fan of his pop culture references, really, I guess. Now, I really feel like this was just sort of a waste of time. It's Sean Maluta versus Cameron Grimes, and although I know that they want to get these breakout stars on the show, it just felt a little bit forced and a waste of time that could have gone, those extra couple of minutes to Strong versus Dream, which might have made that just that little bit more awesome, I guess. But it was a fairly simple squash match deal. I'm not going to go on about it for too long. They both come down, they make their entrances. Maluta tries to go straight after Cameron Grimes, gets double stomped in the chest and pinned. And neither of them looks any better after that. I mean, sure, Maluta definitely doesn't look better, but I don't feel like Cameron Grimes gets much out of that either, really. It's like, yeah, well done, you beat, like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Maluta's got the best win-loss record as he is when it comes to NXT. I'm sort of hesitant to call him a jobber, but let's call him a jobber. And I just didn't feel like it gave Cameron Grimes that much of a rub. Just going into the points at this point, Beth Phoenix is on 1, and I did mean to say that I was going to give Morrow 1 for that first match, not because he said anything stand out, which is what I usually award points for, something that's illustrative or helps me imagine the match more. And he didn't say anything that I was like, wow, that was amazing, but I got down a lot of spots. I never felt lost in the match, and I kept up with it. So, yeah, Morrow and Beth are both on 1 going into this next match, which is Roderick Strong versus the Velveteen Dream for the NXT North American Championship. Really enjoyed this one. Again, probably not quite as much as I enjoyed the triple threat between these two and Pete Dunne, but I did definitely enjoy the match. The commentary did a good job in the early moments building the cardio of Roderick Strong. They just talked about how much of a beast he is when it comes to the cardio and how Velveteen Dream is just never going to be able to match him in that department, but they also put over the fact that Dream's an extraordinarily good strategist, that he messes with people's heads, that he gets inside their heads and just plays games with them, and I really like that. It might make Strong look maybe a little bit more athletic than the Velveteen Dream, but I like that Dream, his character, is definitely more based on like the psychology and messing with people and the flamboyancy of it all. And yeah, I just thought that was a decent thing to do. Then we get the first proper move that I've got written down was Dream hitting an axe handle to the back of Strong's head. Nice, like that. I like that Dream's got all that classic offense. I can't say that I usually like a double axe handle, but for some reason, the way that I imagine the Velveteen Dream wrestling, because I'm not sure that I've managed to actually see one of his matches before I lost my sight properly. I'm just trying to think back to it, and I really don't think that I have. But yeah, imagining the way he does the double axe handle, it seems pretty cool. And right to the back of the head, any sort of move that's right to the back of the head comes across really cool. And they're fighting on the outside for a bit, and Roderick Strong dumps the Dream over the barricade back first, gave Morrow a point for sort of these early moments of the match, especially for pointing out that he dumped him back first, because that's a definite factor in the match moving forward, especially considering after that he just started working Dream's back all over, kicking him in the shoulder blades and stretching him out and just working that chest and back, and just with relentless strikes, and it was pretty awesome, to be honest. Here's an example of a Morrow line that I don't like. So Strong's trying to grind down the Dream, trying to stretch him out, and Morrow goes to Beth, Roderick Strong's got a grip like a pistachio nut. It's difficult to break open. I'm like, really, Morrow? Do you personally struggle with pistachio nuts, Morrow? Because from what I've seen, they're fairly easy. You just put them in your mouth and crack them open. Like, I hate those sort of lines from Morrow. He thinks he's really funny. He's saying it to Beth like, haha, isn't this great? And I was just like, just call the match. Then Roderick Strong hits a huge chest to Dream's. He hits a big chop to Dream's chest. Sorry, getting completely mixed up there. And that chop was absolutely huge. At that point, I was like, poor Dream's body, because he's just getting like hit all over. Just these strikes, just designed to take out the midsection, the body, and the back. And at that point, Strong starts like just hitting backbreakers and then going for near falls. So he hits the first backbreaker, near fall. He turns the Uranagi into a backbreaker, near fall. Then they're on the outside again. He tries a wrecking ball drop kick on the Dream, but misses. Goes into the steps, hurts his own back. Little bit of payback there. I was like, yeah, take that, Strong. This match was so complicated from just an emotional point of view. It's like my booking brain is like, yeah, I really want Roderick Strong to win so that Undisputed Era can be draped in gold and the prophecy can become true and they can all be cool and have belts and it'll just be awesome. But then, like, my kayfabe brain, just my fan brain, is like, no, but Dream, he's so awesome and I don't want him to lose. So I was like, back and forth this whole match, like, Strong's getting him. I'm like, yeah, get him Strong. And then Dream fires back and I'm like, yeah, Velveteen. Dream finally starts to try get some offense in, and as Strong tries to hit him with a back body drop, he counters that with a few kicks, gets a few moves in, hits the Dream DT, for the near fall. Stupid brain. And that was a pretty cool moment. Then they're fighting on the apron, and Strong hits this chop that just echoes around the Full Sail Arena. I was like, God damn, I hope that I never get hit with a chop. And I think that I'm going to at some point. There's going to be a point in time where it's like, oh, do this challenge, or like, if you lose to me in predictions, you get chopped, or I'm just asking for it. Why am I even talking about it now? Yeah, I was just like, God, poor Dream, that sounded nasty. Then Roderick locks in the Strong hold, and the commentary just sells it like it's the most important moment of the Dream's life. And by the time he manages to crawl to the ropes, the crowd is just so hot. Like, there were times during this show that I felt like the crowd was a little bit dead, or a little bit quieter than I would have been. I mean, if I'd have been there, I'd have been like, yeah, having a right good time. But them lot seemed a little bit quiet at times. But that moment where Dream's just crawling to the ropes out of the stronghold, they were going absolutely crazy, as were the commentary. Not a massive fan of Morrow when he turns into Mamma Mia mode. Now we've got workmen in the local area that were going a little bit loud for this closing moments of the match. So if I didn't get this completely right, I'm sorry, because it got really confusing. But we get a Dream Valley driver, a super kick, and a jumping knee for a near fall. Then the Undisputed Era come out and they're like, oh, everyone's like, boo, and Dream ends up hitting another Dream Valley driver, gets up to the top rope, but Cole hits him with a super kick, and then Strong gets him with the end of Heartache and puts him down for the 1-2-3, and now every member of Undisputed Era has a belt. Really happy about that from a booking point of view, at least. Like I said, gutted from a fan perspective, because it's like, oh, Dream, I'm really sorry, what's next for you? But from just like the booking point of view, it's like, wow, that's a really cool way to go with it. There's so many storylines you can get out of it now. I'm really looking forward to seeing where it all goes from here. I gave this a 5 out of 6, and again, I'm gonna award Morrow another point for this match in general, because I think he did a pretty good job of just keeping me apprised with the moves. Like I said, it's one of those where I do try to just give the points out as they go along in the matches, for if they say anything outstanding or really illustrative or anything like that. But when it comes to the point where I've got lots of spots down and I know that they did a good job, I'd just give them a point at the end of the match, because it was they didn't do a bad job. So at this point, we've got Beth on 1 and Morrow's on 3, and I was quite surprised because Nigel hadn't got anything at this point, and I was like, it's really not. He's not the same commentator on NXT. When he gets a word in, he does a really, really good job, and there's some examples of that coming up soon. But I really feel like he takes a back seat tomorrow, and I do definitely prefer the Nigel McGuinness we get on NXT UK with Vic Joseph, and it was just sort of disappointing that he hadn't got a point at this point. So many times that I've just said point. Pete Dunne versus Arturo oh my god, I'm completely unable to get my mouth around this guy. Arturo Ruiz? Oh my god. Yeah, anyway, Pete Dunne's match is next, and it was a really cool match. I did enjoy seeing Dunne getting a bit of time to shine. They were putting him over big time, especially Nigel, talking about the long run that he had with the United Kingdom Championship, even comparing him to Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, and I actually think that's really cool. We get a prime example of bad Morrow in the beginning of this, as he's like, oh yeah, Pete Dunne bends digits like Beckham, and I'm like, just shut up, Morrow. How old is that film now? Like, how old is Bend It Like Beckham now? 17 years. Just went and looked that up on Google, and it's 17 years old. It came out in 2002, Morrow. That's not a relevant pop culture reference. Bends it like Beckham. And that's a prime example of when I don't like Morrow and Aloe. Then we get a pretty funny bit where they're like, this is going to be a technical masterpiece. And then there's this huge slap noise, and they're like, oh, I take it back. It's like, yeah, that's pretty funny. Then Pete Dunne is trying to work the fingers and the arm to soften it up, and Nigel points out that this is going to make submissions pretty difficult, which is one of the things that Ruiz uses quite a bit. He also points out that the style that Ruiz works was developed by Brazilian slaves that had to pretend that they were dancing rather than working on their escape, which I thought was pretty cool. I was like, wow, that's something that I just completely wouldn't have known, and just shows the depth of knowledge that Nigel McGuinness has when it comes to this sort of thing. And I gave him a point for that, because it was just an outstanding bit of commentary that really helped you understand where the style is coming from that this guy's working. I'm just going to call him this guy now because I don't want to butcher his name anymore, but yeah, it was really cool for Nigel to have pointed that out. Dunne starts working the toes, ends up hitting a dragon whip leg screw. God damn, my mouth is not working today. Dragon whip leg screw. Then he hits an X-plex for a near fall, and then we get this nice little sequence at the end where Dunne's trying to wrestle the other guy into a submission. Nigel's like, oh, he's got to be careful that he doesn't get pinned. This is going to be easy to reverse. And then sort of a little bit more submission fighting, and Dunne manages to get the triangle from the top and then brutalises the fingers to force the tap. And I gave it a 4+. Thought it was pretty decent. thought it could have been better. A little bit more time might have given it a few more moments to breathe and develop into something cool. I do like how they presented Pete Dunne here, though. He looks really brutal, he looks really calculating, like he knows what he's doing, and he's got a really different style with how he does things, and that's really cool because it makes it seem like he's not just English guy that can wrestle, he's guy that's English and wrestles an English style. So I really enjoy Pete Dunne's performance. Thought this match was alright, but I didn't really connect with me too much. It was just one of those things that I felt I was a little bit crammed in, really. We get a Dakota Kai video package hyping her return next week, which is pretty cool. I like Dakota Kai quite a lot. I hope that she still gets a chance to go and do stuff in NXT UK. It seems, especially considering what I'm about to talk about after this, all of this, it seems like they're going to have a strong working relationship between NXT UK and NXT going forward. So hopefully she gets to feature on both, because I'd like to see more of her. Then we get another women's match, if you could call it that. It was Xia Li versus Aaliyah, and I really don't want to talk about this for too long. It was just a glorified squash match to put Lee over. The one line of commentary that I have is from Nadia McGuinness saying that she learnt martial arts because of the death of her father, and she's got a backstory like a manga novel, and I was like, is that okay to say? Like, I just, someone let me know, I'm not sure. Is that like an okay thing to say, or is that like a bit like... But anyway, she hit like a spinning back kick and a tornado kick, and she just kicked the shit out of Aaliyah, basically. That's all you need to know about that one. It was a 3+, just a little squash match to put Lee over. Next, they hype up that Kushida is in action. He's supposed to have a match against Denzel Dejournette, and this didn't end up happening because Imperium came out and made their entrance, made the presence known. It was a pretty cool moment, to be honest. I would have expected them to bring British Strong Style over if they were going to do this sort of thing, but it works better as Imperium because they're heels, and it was really, really cool. So the other members of Imperium come out without Walter, and they hit a European bomb on Dejournette, I think, and then Walter comes out and he's making his way down, and there's a couple of Walter, but really, really quiet, and no one sings his song, which is just like, come on, American fans, especially if Walter's going to be showing up there more often now with everything that's going on here. You need to step up your game. It's not that hard. Just sing the notes of his song. It's not that hard. It's like 7 or 8 notes maybe to remember, and just all do it as one, and that's how you do his entrance. Because frankly, I'm gonna shoot on the American audience here a little bit. I don't like the fact that they just don't, it's not the same atmosphere, and that's okay because they are two distinctly different audiences. But if you're gonna try and, because there was a huge pot for Walter and they were really happy to see him there, and there was a few people trying to do the Walter, and it got a little bit louder, but it never really picked up, and I was like, come on, his character, even though he pretends that he doesn't like it, even though that the character hates that sort of thing, it also really suits that atmosphere. So come on, American fans, pick it up. It's only singing together. It's not that hard. We don't practice it. We've just English people were all just indoctrinated as kids to all sing together, because we all, I mean, not all of us probably, but it's where I was from. We all had to sing choirs. We had to sing hymns every morning, and I always remember the music teacher would make us go back and do like the whole song again if she heard people getting it wrong, and yeah, so that's why we can all like just carry on a tune together, because half the time if you don't know what the tune is, you just wait a few notes and then join in and make it sound like you know what you're doing. And that's how you be an English wrestling fan, or just an English fan of any sort of live event, I guess. I'm rambling, but yeah, Walter comes out. He says that the ring is sacred. Anyone who disrespects it is gonna answer to the ring general. And then Kushida comes out. He manages to sort of get a few shots in and get away before he suffers too much damage. So yeah, it's really cool. Kushida versus Walter is probably going to end up being a thing, and that should be a pretty cool match. Hopefully Walter crushes him though, because I love Walter. He's just really scary and hard. Well, this didn't take long, did it? NXT is finally absorbing 205 Live. Doesn't sound like it's been cancelled just yet. I don't know how many more episodes they're going to do of it, but we got a number one contenders match for the cruiserweight title. It was Oney Lorcan versus Leah Rush, fighting for a chance to face Drew Gulak, and it was pretty nice to see Leah Rush. This was my first Leah Rush match, and it was pretty impressive. I probably would say that this was the best match on the show for me, which is strange considering that I really liked the Roderick Strong and Velveteen Dream match, but this one was just really fast and high paced, and it was just really cool. So the bell goes, Lorcan, quote, explodes out of the corner like a cannon and goes for a blockbuster for the near fall. Leah Rush manages to fight back a little bit. They spill to the outside. He hits 3 suicide dives in a row, which is like pretty cool, but at the same time I was like, how much cooler would it have been if he'd have hit 3 different moves? Like, hits a suicide dive the first time, then the second time hits like a Fosbury flop, then the third time hits like a flip dive. I don't know, just 3 different dives would have been pretty cool, rather than like, I'm going to do 3 suicide dives in a row, even though that was really cool in itself. Just feel like it would have been even cooler the other way. Then he manages to hit a spinning roundhouse to the sternum of Oney Lorcan, and I thought it was really cool that they were really playing up that speed of Leo Rush and his striking ability, but also playing up the fact that he didn't want to get into a strike exchange with Oney Lorcan, because he's not going to come out on top of that when it comes to a strike exchange. So yeah, it was pretty cool that they were playing up the how good they both were and how different they both were. Lorcan really puts up a fight in this match, and he really takes it to Leo Rush for the next little bit, hits a dragon whip leg screw, and then you know what? I think I'm definitely saying that wrong. It's a dragon screw leg whip rather than a dragon whip leg screw. Mason, you absolute idiot. People have already said that to you in the comments, though, now probably. Anyway, yeah, he hits the dragon screw leg whip, and then he gets a gut wrench power bomb, which I thought was really cool. I love a good gut wrench. I don't know why, but I just always thought that it was really cool. He gets a single-legged Boston Crab on Rush, and I love Nigel McGuinness when it comes to submissions, because he just starts going to work explaining how much this hurts the lower back of Leo Rush and how that can affect his speed and how it's going to destroy the tendon in his knee. And at this point I have to admit that I was a little bit wrong, because I was getting mad at Mauro, because Nigel's like talking all scientific and talking about the tendons and your knee and how much the torque is going to hurt it, and Mauro just screams patella tendon, and I was like, don't think it's called the patella tendon, Mauro. Went and googled it. It is called the patella tendon. So I'm wrong, and I was like getting legit mad at him, like, you can't pretend to be all technical and call it the patella tendon. And then it was actually called that, and I was like, oh, god damn it, I was wrong. we get a springboard stunner from Rush. I thought that was pretty cool. I actually really appreciated the fact that Morrow pointed out that it was a springboard, because at first it was just like, stunner! And then I was like, okay, it's pretty cool, he's pulling out stunner. And then Morrow pointed out that it was a springboard one, and I had to change my mental image of it, and I appreciated it. Thought it was pretty useful. Then we get a little spot where Leo does something, hurts his knee. Lorcan goes back to that single-legged Boston Crab. He has that in for a little bit and then manages to transition into like a modified STF with the forearm right underneath the jaw, as Nigel pointed out, which was pretty cool. Then we get the little closing sequence of the match, which was pretty cool. Rush slaps Lorcan. Lorcan chops the shit out of him and then goes for the blockbuster, but gets reversed into the Spanish Fly and the Dragon's Call, which Morrow explained is a split-legged frog splash, and I gave him a point for that because, again, that's just really cool. The amount of times where something happens and they say a move and I have no idea what it is, especially with finishers, and I have to go and ask them, like, what's this move? What's this move? Like the one-winged angel, when I heard about that, I thought, what's this? And it happens all the time, and I always wish that they would explain what people's moves were, especially when it's just a named move or a finisher, and I just really appreciated that he said that. So at that point, Morrow is on 4, Nigel's on 1, and Beth's on 1. So actually did a fairly good job, to be fair. It was one of those things, though, because even though he managed to score 4, it was more for his overall performance. There wasn't anything in the matches that was amazing or really cool or useful calls. It was just that he did a good job and I never felt lost, and I feel like they should get a point for that. But so he manages to score 4 points in total over this, really. And then we get the main event, and I'm not gonna lie, I was really, really disappointed in this one. I really like this Matt Riddle, Killian Dane rivalry, and I was really looking forward to this street fight. Now I think they're going to attempt to do it again, but I just really thought that they were going to... I was really looking forward to it because I thought they were just going to beat the shit out of each other. But it was not meant to be, and it all sort of just broke down. So they had a few minutes of street fight at the beginning. Riddle gets tossed over the barricade and hit with a senton, and they're like fighting up and out of the arena into like sort of the car park area or outside or something. I'm not really sure, but they did say, oh, they've taken the fight into the humidity of Florida. And then they get mugged by Imperium. I was like, wow, that's really cool. So you're doing it properly then. Like, I just thought it was going to end up being like a Kushida rivalry, but this sort of makes it look like it's like a little bit of a low-level British invasion. I'm wondering if we'll get any more of the talent teaming up with them. Unfortunately, we've got British Strong Style as faces, so I can't see them helping Imperium out here, especially considering that they're in a feud with them. So I just wonder, maybe Gibson and Drake could be pretty cool if they brought them over. They're not tag team champions anymore, so if you bring them over and have them help out Imperium, that could expose them to the American audience a little bit and maybe help them get a little bit of heat. And I think that'd be a really cool choice, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Just bring over a few of the heels and then a few of the faces come over, you know. It'd be pretty cool if Gallus helped out at some point. That'd be really awesome. But yeah, it all just sort of broke down from there. Commentary really took a backseat, didn't really tell us much of what was going on. But Imperium mug Dane and Riddle. Riddle and Dane are actually still trying to fight, which was pretty awesome. And then it just turns into this whole locker room brawl with the Street Profits trying to make the save and more members of the NXT locker room just coming out and getting involved. And like I said, it was really cool from a storyline perspective. I was like, oh, I'm really looking forward to seeing where they're going from this, because I'm really eager to see what feuds and stories they can get out of this, and whether it's going to be more of a British invasion or whether it's just going to be Imperium, what's going to happen. But it was disappointing to not get the match that I thought that I was going to get, and it was also disappointing to not be able to like sort of fully invest in how much of a brawl it was, because they just weren't really saying anything about it, they were just reacting. But yeah, that's that's all of it done, really. That's the whole show. Really, really thought that Oni Lorcan versus Leah Rush was the best match of the night. I gave that a 5, even though it scored the same as Dream versus Strong. I thought that had it had a couple more minutes, even just 5 more minutes, I think that match would have been way, way better than Dream versus Strong. It just had some really cool, fast-paced offense that made me really excited to see this 205 Live world coming in. It's quite cool that NXT is sort of turning into this melting pot, because you've got the NXT roster, you've got the British sort of low-level invasion going on with Imperium showing up, and then you've got 205 Live getting folded into there, and Drew Gulak and all of that lot, and seeing how that works out. It'd be pretty cool if we end up with like a 3-way War Games match, NXT versus NXT UK versus 205 Live. That'd be really, really cool, especially maybe if we could get at some point cruiserweight versus NXT versus NXT UK champion Walter. What would that be at the minute? That'd be Walter versus Cole versus Gulak. That'd be an awesome match. But yeah, that Lorcan and Leah Rush match really got me excited for seeing how 205 Live folds into this new NXT universe, and just got me hyped for the return of Leah Rush, really, as well, because I've never been a massive fan of him because I didn't get to see him wrestle much. But now that he's back to being a wrestler and they're playing up the fact that he seems to be a face again and all that sort of stuff, really, really good. And overall, I'd probably give this episode a 4 out of 6, as I've said before, just because it felt pretty average, really. It felt like watching 2 NXT episodes back to back, which I'm going to have to get used to. It did feel long, felt a little bit rushed, and like a few things were really crammed in. The Pete Dunne match, I feel like could have maybe waited a few weeks, maybe have just a video package or something like that. The Zia Lee match, again, really forced in. Same with Maluta and Cameron Grimes. You just really could have cut them out and added a few more minutes to each thing, and maybe given the street fight a little bit more of a chance to like develop before it broke down into a brawl, which might have made it have a little bit more impact. But overall wasn't as amazing as I thought it was going to, and hopefully they pick it up in the next couple of weeks, because as much as I'm a confession, I'm not particularly drawn into AEW right now, because the Road 2 episodes haven't been drawing me in that much, especially not this most recent one, which was just like 5 minutes of Riho cutting a promo in her own language, which is fine, but they don't provide any way for someone like me to know what she was saying. And then it was like a bit of a cringy MJF promo where he's like crying like a baby, and just it sort of did my head in. But yeah, considering that I'm not that invested, I don't think they'll have to try that hard to beat that episode, and I wasn't expecting to say that. I was expecting to watch this episode and be like, yeah, beat that AEW, because I want to be an NXT for life kind of guy. But yeah, so I'll be covering next week's one, and then obviously in 2 weeks' time we've got the first official NXT versus AEW week, which should be pretty interesting. If you've liked this episode, hit the like button, the subscribe, and the notification bell so that you never miss an episode of WITD, especially not with the Wednesday Night Wars coming up. And if you want to have your say about this episode of NXT or this episode of WITD, you can do in the comments section, or on Twitter at Mason_WITD, or in my Discord server, where you can come and have a chat. We can become a member of the community, and together we can make wrestling a more accessible place for people like me. Little funny story for anyone who's stuck around to the end here. Someone actually legit said to me the other day, why would anyone listen to someone talking about wrestling if they're blind? Wrestling's a visual art. What's next? Blind person reviews the latest films? Well, guess what, guys? Stay tuned for the Breaking Bad film coming out, because I'll probably end up doing a review on that. Someone needs to let that guy know the audio description is a thing. Also, quick thoughts on the Kenny Omega thing, with him saying that NXT and AEW are on separate planets, and if it was all one big promotion, NXT would be the dark match to his main event, and if you want to tune into AEW, you'll see where the real stars are, not developmental ones. People are like, oh, I think he's just trolling, I think he's just trying to draw some heat and make the competition better, and that's fine. I agree. I'm okay with it, but for everyone who was annoyed about the Seth Rollins thing, with him talking about the size of his bank account and all that lot to Will Ospreay, you can't have one and then not the other, because they're two things that are the same. They're both trying to make their side look better, draw up the business, make it more of a heated rivalry, and I don't really mind either, but in my opinion, if you're going to be annoyed at the Seth Rollins one, you should be annoyed at the Kenny Omega one. So yeah, there's a few exclusive thoughts for the people that have stuck around to the end. Right guys, I'm off, and you should have a good one.